What brought Xi Jinping, Putin, and Kim Jong-un and other world leaders to China? Why was the timing of this gathering strategically important? And what specific topics likely dominated those rooms when the doors were closed? I'm Eric Sapanic, this is John Caro, and this is the Gold Spot.
Before we get started, we would like to recognize that yesterday was a day of remembrance marking the anniversary of one of the worst catastrophes in U.S. history. We will forever grieve the victims and honor the heroes of that day.
So gold keeps going up and up and up, right, John?
Yep.
So, I mean, last week we were talking, hey, it crossed 3,500. Now it's crossed 3,600, and it keeps moving. And so many will ask us at this point in time, is this the top? And if you think this is the top, you're missing the bigger picture. But who is not missing the bigger picture are some of the leaders from the eastern side of the world. And that's going to be China, it's going to be Russia, it's going to be India. These countries are now really putting together an effort to not only show displays of power, but also show displays of unity. The Chinese convergence, where they had this big military parade, I mean, we saw leaders that you just don't really want to see together. And this is one of my questions. Do you think the tariffs that are being implemented could have a unforeseen effect that pushes together these nations and just accelerates the concept of the BRICS nations? John, what's your idea?
This is, I think, an ultimate extension of the law of unintended consequences. It started with the sanctions and the attempts to isolate countries economically. And now what we're seeing is these countries are starting to realize they can trade with each other as long as they accept each other's money. And what we're seeing is China, Russia, North Korea is there for public relations issues, but India, the big population economies of the world, are starting to find ways to trade with each other without the dollar. And that, to me, is one of the indications of why countries like China have been buying so much gold. If they accept each other's money as valid, they're moving towards a new system where they're going to bring their own crypto expertise. They've created their own central bank for a clearinghouse. They're using the blockchain technology to use digital money to pay their bills. And as long as they keep accepting each other's money as valid, they're going to try to isolate the U.S. And basically free themselves from the dollar. Will it last? I don't know. But the price of gold is reflecting what the free market is saying is going on. And that's how high is up.
Well, I mean, and we've talked about this for years now. It's not the public that's pushing gold prices. In fact, it is the central banks of the world. One of the biggest, I mean, right now is China. And we've actually heard a lot of rumors that the numbers that we've been giving our audience here for some time now is strongly underestimated of what reflects the real number, and that the world's being lied to on just how much that they really are bringing in. For China, the BRICS chair is pushing digital currency innovation in a big way. And not only with that, they love this idea because it also gives them complete and total control over the currency of their public on a digital realm. Russia, the sanctions have really forced them to pioneer using the yuan and the ruble as a trading partner. North Korea, they actually not only do they show their loyalty, but really they also have a lot to do when it comes to cryptocurrency as well. They've got a big foot in the door when it comes to the technology there. The strategy is moving energy trades and settlements away from the dollar and into national currencies and digital alternatives. This isn't something that is going to happen. This is something that's happening right now, and it gets very little media attention.
Look, this isn't theoretical anymore. It's reality. It's happening. And unfortunately, these three countries and India, they're acting smarter than we are. And the reason we don't hear from our government is I believe they don't know what to do. And they're not protecting our economy, and they're not protecting our citizens.
They're building a completely separate financial system that works without the US dollar or US controlled banks. Some pieces have already started to work for them. The Russia-China trade, for instance, others are being tested right now, digital currencies, and they're rushing to connect it all together. So why does this matter, John?
It matters because if it's successful, if it works, these countries can function and supply themselves independently of the dollar economy and frees us out of a lot of business. And this is kind of an evolutionary trend that's not going to slow down, not going to go away. And if we don't figure out a way to either participate or overtake them, this could have serious results for this country. And for me, it means the prices of things like gold and silver are going to continue to rise.
I agree with you that that's why that matters, but there's always going to be a counter to the argument that, hey, this will never work because these economies are too fragile. They're within, years of collapse. It doesn't appear that way when you really look at the world market. I mean, China, India, that's where all the trade comes from. Without them, manufacturing doesn't exist for the United States at this point in time. It just doesn't. And no matter how much of the manufacturing we try to bring back, you're not going to be able to do that within a few years span of time. Whereas though this action seems to be rolling out a lot faster because the participants are becoming increasingly worried about what we are going to do to weaponize the dollar against them, especially when it comes to Russia. I mean, we already did it to them. And that is really what kind of kicked the ball off for the BRICS nations was the fact that people said if the government of the United States decides that they want to punish us, the first thing they're going to do is come after our currency. Let's get off their currency. Your thoughts?
Well, these things usually take years and years to build up, and we've been seeing that and talking about that. What's happened in the last 4 or 5 years has kickstarted this whole process of competition and survival, and the free market is at work here. If you can't get US dollars, you find an alternative, and that's what's happening.
All right, I want to end on one last point here, and then I'm going to kick it back to you, John, and if you could close it down for us. It's not what gold price is today. It's what it's going to be in 5 to 10 years today that really makes the difference. We are seeing things like this emerging from the BRICS nations. We've talked about in some of our other episodes about the innovation of AI. How will that affect the employment in the United States and other countries? There's so many things happening that are really going to be coming to a head in the next 5 to 10 years. And I think that's what people need to keep their minds set on right now, not what your profit margin is today, but where is the preservation of your wealth going tomorrow?
I couldn't agree more, and this is why we keep pushing the idea of staying in touch, read our reports, be current on what's going on, but think about it. These are long-term planning tools and long-term investments. If you want to get more detail about what we talked about today, ask for our Beijing conversion report, which we just released last Friday. I think it'll help you shape a plan for the future. And with that, see you next week.
If you enjoyed today's Gold Spot, like or subscribe to both our YouTube and Rumble channels. Also, comment below if you have any questions or if you'd like to hear us talk about a specific topic in a future video.